Hi, welcome to Roy's Game Table. Today we have unboxing for Ant-Man. So pull up a chair and let's see what's inside the pack. And here is the poster that comes with Ant-Man. As you can see, he's in a small size there. It looks like on top of a keyboard with a hand reaching for him. And of course, on the other side of his poster is some information about Ant-Man. So let's zoom in on that information. And as you can see there, he comes with a foldable card because he has an alter ego side, then a tiny hero side, and a giant hero side. And I'll show you those here in a second. Then he has a new keyword, team up. The team up keyword names two characters. To include a card with the team up keyword in your deck, your chosen identity must match one of the named characters. Additionally, a card with the team up keyword cannot be played unless both of the named characters, hero or ally, are in play. And then it has some rule clarifications that you can read if you get the pack. And as you see there, Ant-Man will come with the leadership aspect. Okay, so I'm going to open up the pack with the cards and we'll start looking at the cards. Okay, and here is the foldable card that I was talking about. This is the Scott Lang side, his alter ego. As you can see, he has a 3 recovery. He has a hand size of 6 and hit points of 12. Time to unwind. Response: after you change to this form, heal 1 damage from Scott Lang. Okay, and then the foldable part of it is, well, I'll get to that in a second. Then he can flip over to his tiny side. You should be able to see it right there. And this is his tiny hero side, 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense, hand size of 5. And this, when he draws up in this form, and his response: after you change to this form, remove 1 threat from a scheme. And now for the unfoldable part. And this is when he goes to his giant form. So Ant-Man, 1 thwart, 3 attack, 3 defense. And on this side, after you change to this form, deal 1 damage to an enemy. So he can change from Scott Lang to Tiny Ant-Man and then open up to Giant Ant-Man. Now, some people were wondering about the thickness of the cards. And to my hands, here's a regular card, you know, obviously right here, and here's this one. They don't really feel that much different. I mean, I don't really know, I guess, what I'm looking for necessarily, but the thickness of this Ant-Man unfoldable card doesn't feel that much more than this one. So I don't know if that's going to wear this card out from, you know, flipping it over, but if I'm unfolding a lot, I'm not sure how that's going to work. But it didn't really feel that much different than the other cards. And also, some people, I know some people on Board Game Geek were wondering if the card would be able to stay shut when it was closed and stay flat if it was open. Well, I've got Scott Lang laying here, and I don't know if you can tell over here on the side, but it does stick up a little bit. I mean, I don't think there's anything you can do about that, and that should have been, you know, that's something I guess you can expect with an unfoldable card like this. But it does, you know, it does stick up, and then when you flip it, if you were going to go to giant form, if you just lay it down, as you can see, it sits up some. So, you know, I just opened the pack though, so it hasn't been manipulated at all. I mean, I guess if you were to bend it back a little bit, maybe he would lay flatter. It's a little better now that I've bent it back some. But when you just take it out of the pack, if you don't manipulate it at all, it is going to stick up some. I mean, it's not a big deal, but I just thought I'd point it out. But this is a new feature with the flippable side from Scott Lang over to Tiny Ant-Man, and then flip open to regular Ant-Man like this. All right, well, let's look at the other cards. Okay, so first of all, we have Wasp. And so this is going to be his signature ally. And after Wasp enters play, deal 2 damage to an enemy if you are in giant hero form, or remove 2 threat from a scheme if you are in tiny hero form. And in order to take advantage of a team-up card that we'll see here in a minute in his pack, in order to be able to take advantage of that, if you're playing solo with Ant-Man, you got to have this Wasp in play in order for that team up to work. Or you can be playing like 2-player, 3-player, one person can be Wasp, one person can be Ant-Man, and the team up card will work. But anyway, that's Wasp. And then we have Giant Stomp. Play only if you are in giant hero form. Deal 1 damage to each minion, deal 8 damage to an enemy. All right. And I got 2 copies of that. Hive Mind. This is a tiny form. Play only if you're in tiny hero form. It's a thwart. Remove 2 threat from a scheme. Remove 1 additional threat from that scheme for each army advance support you control. All right, it looks like just one of those. And then resize. A cost of 0. Change to your other hero form and draw a card. That seems nice. Now, the draw 1 card is just going to replace this one you play it in, but there may be a time you want to change from tiny to giant or giant to tiny, and you don't have to pay, it looks like, to be able to do that. So that's nice, and there's 2 copies of those. Okay, Pin Particles. This is a resource. After you spend this card, heal 2 damage from your hero if you're in giant hero form, or draw a card if you're in tiny hero form, and it has no cost at all. All right, and you get 2 of those. Army Advance, and we've already mentioned this in another card, but it's a hero action. If you are in tiny hero form, exhaust Army Advance, deal 1 damage to an enemy. Okay, so that's neat. There's 1, 2, 3 of those. And then Ant-Man's helmet. It's an armor tech upgrade, so if you're playing with Iron Man could get this out of your discard pile for you. But after you change to giant hero form, heal 2 damage from your hero. And then hero response after you change to tiny hero form, draw a card. So it looks like your card draw is going to go from flipping to tiny so far from what I've seen. Okay, so that's his helmet. And then giant strength. After you change to giant hero form, you get +1 attack until the end of this turn. And there are 2 of those. Wrist gauntlets. If you're in giant hero form, exhaust wrist gauntlets and spend 2 physical resources to stun an enemy. Hero action, if you're in tiny form, exhaust wrist gauntlets and spend 2 energy resources to confuse an enemy. So that's nice. I always like to be able to confuse enemies because I play solo a lot. So Ant-Man has a way to do that, although you have to have resources to be able to pull it off. All right, so now we're going to be in the leadership cards that come. And this is Ant-Man, Hank Pym. So in case you're wondering, yes, you could have this ally in the game with the Ant-Man hero because, well, for one thing, this Ant-Man doesn't have a name on it. Well, on the hero form, it is Scott Lang. Obviously, Scott Lang is the alter ego form of this Ant-Man, and Hank Pym is the alter ego form of this Ant-Man ally. So you can have him in the deck with Scott Lang, in case you're wondering. So anyway, there's him, and then we have Giant Man. Giant Man gets +2 attack while he has 3 or more remaining hit points. Okay? And then Ronan. Ronan gets +1 thwart and +1 attack while an upgrade is attached to them. And Stinger. Play only if your identity has the Avenger trait. Stinger does not count against your ally limit. Cool, so you can have her in, and she's only a cost of 1. You can have her into play and have 4 allies without having to do it without having to have a Triskelion or something. That's neat. Call for Aid, a 0-cost event. Discard cards from the top of your deck until you discard an Avenger ally. Then add that ally to your hand. And you get 1, 2, 3 of those. Moxie, after you change form, your hero gets +1 thwart, +1 attack, and +1 defense until the end of the round. That's a 0 event. We got 3 of those. Power Gloves. This is an upgrade. It's a tech upgrade. So that would help. That would be good for Iron Man. Attached to an Avenger ally, max 1 per ally. Response after attached ally attacks or thwarts, deal 1 damage to an enemy. Okay, so we have 3 of those. And then Reinforced Suit. This is also a tech upgrade. Attached to an ally, max 1 per ally. Attached ally gets +2 hit points. And there are 3 of those in his deck. So now we're into the neutral cards. We've seen First Aid before from the core set. Swarm Tactics. This is the team up card that I kind of alluded to earlier. And this new keyword, the team up keyword that was mentioned in the rules. But you have to have Ant-Man and Wasp, max 1 per deck, change to your other hero form, ready your hero. Okay, then we get some double resources again, like we need more of those. But You know, these packs are playable right out of the deck, so I guess you have to have the double resources in each one of the decks. Team building exercise, a 2-cost support. Exhaust team building exercise, play a card from your hand that shares a trait with your hero, reducing its resource cost by 1. So this can stay in the game and help you reduce the cost of getting cards into play, some cards anyway. And he has 1, 2, 3 of those in his deck. His obligation, care for Cassie. You may flip to alter ego form and you can choose to either exhaust Scott Lang and remove it. Or you can choose and discard 1 card from your hand. You cannot change form until your next turn in. So you're stuck. So if you're an alter ego and this comes out, you would be stuck in it, it looks like, unless you exhaust Scott Lang to get rid of it. So anyway, care for Cassie's his obligation. Okay, now we have going into his Nemesis territory. This is Tech Theft, the side scheme of his Nemesis set. Treat the printed text box of each tech player card as if it were blank. And then here is his Nemesis, Ant-Man's Nemesis, Yellow Jacket. 2 scheme to attack. While you're in giant hero form, Yellow Jacket gains the giant trait and retaliate 1. And while you're in tiny hero form, Yellow Jacket gains the tiny trait and gets +1 attack. All right, then size increase. It's an attachment. Attached to Yellow Jacket if able. If you can't, attach to the villain. It has 3 uses, and then after attached enemy activates, remove 1 size counter from here. And while this card is active, the villain or Yellow Jacket would get +2 scheme or +2 attack. So that could be rough. 2 of those. Yellow Jacket's plan. When revealed, discard from the encounter deck until a card from the Ant-Man Nemesis set is discarded this way. Reveal that card. All right, then we stop because everything before this card is in his 40 card deck, and then everything after it is just additional cards that you get that you can put in when you're deck building. So the aggression card that comes in his deck is Moment of Triumph. It's 0-cost event. After you attack and defeat an enemy, heal 1 damage from your hero for each point of excess damage dealt to that enemy by that attack. So that can help your aggression heroes stay on their hero side a little longer. And you get 3 of those. And then Lay Down the Law. This is a justice card. Hero response, thwart. After you change form, remove 3 threat from a scheme, 4 threat instead if you paid for this card using a mental resource. So all you got to do is change forms with this, and you can remove some threat. That's nice. 3 of those. And then Muster Courage. It's also an event, 3 cost. Play only if your identity has the Avenger trait. Hero action, give up to X friendly characters a tough status card to a maximum of 3 characters where X is equal to the villain's stage number. And you get 3 of those. And then you get a new neutral card, Assess the Situation. It's a tactic and an event. You get +1 hand size until the end of the phase. All right, and 3 of those. Well, that'll do it for the Ant-Man unboxing. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell for any future videos that I may have that come out. And because I will be doing some playthroughs with Ant-Man, so if you're interested in that, be sure again to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And until that time comes, I'll save you a seat at the table.